16, 17 at the time in high school. I'm in class and I get the shakes, heart's racing and everything. I'm thinking it's nothing. And this has been going on for pretty much probably like a week or two. Then one day, like, these thoughts just came in my head. Like, do I deserve to be on this earth? Like I started to like have like suicidal tendencies. So one day I brought a bottle of pills to school, right? Then that day in school, like I think after that period of class, I think I was gonna like take like a handful of pills and just, end it right there. Then ironically, the secretary called me on the intercom, called me in the office, said somebody was here to visit me. So I went to the office and everything, and it was my church member. He was coming to check up on me to see how I was, see how I was doing at school and everything. And the first thing he asked me was, "So how you doing?" I literally broke down in tears because like I was just holding so much anger and all this type of stuff, and like I just told him straight up, man, I'm not good. He was like, "So what's going on?" I was basically telling him like, I don't know what's going on, but I know I got a problem. And he was like, so he's a counselor, and he's basically like asking me these counselor type questions. So then he asked me like, have I had any like thoughts of suicide or anything like that? Broke down again. And he was like, so you were thinking about harming yourself recently? I was like, yes, sir. I got pills in my book bag right now. Then he went in my book bag, got the pills, called my mom. Mom came in there. I had to tell her what was going on with me. And like, as soon as I said that to her, like she broke down too, and then it was a lot, man. And then after that, excuse me, I gotta like process everything, cause like it's kind of hard to talk about. Yeah, after that we had to talk. Me and my mom had to talk about, if you have like if this happens to come up again, you let me know so we can get you proper help or whatever. So after a while, it was still going on. I didn't mention it to her or anything like that. I'm talking about years passed. I didn't mention it to her. Then I say about sometime around last year, I finally got around to getting some help. I went to go see a psychiatrist, went to go see a therapist and everything. I'm actually doing pretty good right now. But I'm just letting people know, like, as far as like black men in particular, like, if you need help, man, you gotta get it seriously, man. Cause like, a lot of those emotions and all that type of stuff you holding in, anger and sadness from like past experiences you've been dealing with in your life, like you can't hold all that stuff in, man. You really can't.
So do you do you really know what the issue was, or?
Anxiety and chronic depression.
Okay.
That's what it was. Yeah, I still have it, but it's kind of under control. I have to like, the main thing is like keep a positive spirit, keep like maintain some positivity about it, and then like control, like basically I can't allow things to have control over my attitude. Like if somebody, comes at me the wrong way, and I'm being nice to them or whatever, and then they just come at me with a negative response or whatever, I can't, like, I have to like keep that, keep like, basically what I'm saying is like, I have to be positive with everything I'm doing, because like, as soon as like something negative comes up in my head or whatever, like then I just basically relapse or whatever. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about it.
Oh wow. Well, that's pretty good that you shared that with us.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's rough. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I'm making it though. I'm good.
Yeah, we need to start opening up.
Yeah.
I know specifically for the Black community, a lot of it goes back to, you know, generations ago when we had to hold in all of our feelings and all of our emotions, and then when you express things nowadays, you know, what we do in our community specifically is we'll be like, you know, that's demonic. That's
yeah.
not, you know, that's not what Black people do. We aren't allowed to have those types of feelings and express ourselves in that way. We can't say it's depression because, you know, a lot of people really just wipe it off. That's what happened to, you know, our ancestors. That's what happened to our grandmothers and grandfathers, and it was just blown off. So I think now it's important to know, and I want to thank you for letting people know you can talk about it, and you really need to talk about it, because if not, it'll drive you crazy and cause you to have those thoughts about yourself. A lot of it has to do with knowing yourself, you know, knowing your worth and your value, and we got to make sure that that is being taught, you know, in every community, of course, but, you know, I generalize that to Black people specifically because I just know we love to say, let's pray about it, but you got to do more than pray. You got to do more than pray. It's not just something that you can pray away all the time. You know, they say faith without works for those who are, you know, in that faith. You know, you have to work towards something. You really have to go to the source of things a lot of times, because a lot of people that experience trauma and anxiety, there's a source. There's a time that they can link it back to. There's cycles. There's something that it can be, you know, linked to. So it's something that you can work on, and we definitely need to see more of that in the community, because when I was growing up, we had what was the game? The hanging game? The
Yeah,
game
the choking game, something like
yes,
that.
the choking game, you know? Yeah, it's, you know, these challenges, and then you find that people are being bullied,
Yeah.
and yeah, you gotta talk about it.
I think too, well, I think too, like, men, well, I mean, I guess women too, but men are, you know, taught to like hold in their feelings, but they're not like taught
Right.
specifically, like, you know, my dad, or I'm sure my dad's dad was never like, hold in your feelings, so I've, you know, seen some like instances of that actually like happening, but, you know, sometimes it can be hard to like express myself, and be like transparent. So it only happens, you know, sometimes, you know, I'm, you know, trying to work on this, I know people have too, but, you know, trying to be like transparent, and vulnerable, like in all situations as much as possible. But, you know, for, you know, as a male, I guess maybe I feel like it's just, I feel maybe trapped sometimes in not being able to express myself, and if I do, then other males and just people in general maybe like not gonna like me as much. And then, you know, and if I just keep going down like that road, things kind of explode, you know, after a while anyway. So it's kind of hard to know what to do. It definitely feels like an entrapment. And I mean, none of it's my fault. It's what, you know, was ingrained in me as, you know, someone of the male gender.
Yeah.
But it's tough to work with, and all of it is on, and a lot of times all of it is on you to either, you know, work with it yourself or go seek counseling, and even that, you know, there's such a taboo about counseling.
Oh,
Yeah.
That it's hard to, I don't know, pluck up the courage to go do something like that.
I just didn't know how serious it was within myself, because I was working in my career as a social worker, working for the Department of Social Services. And, you know, growing up, I didn't have the best childhood. I've experienced a lot of things that I shouldn't have as a child. And then as I'm working in my profession, it's like a lot of those things, it kind of like unraveled, I would say. Like it appeared again. And then I just didn't know how to deal with it. And I would say 2018 was probably one of the worst years of my life. Like knowing what depression really is. I mean, just locking myself in my room and it's dark, like not speaking to people, just having attitudes with people, isolating myself from like my family, my friends, and it's like I too begin to ask myself like, why am I here? Like, should I even be here? Like, what is my purpose? Like, why?
Yeah, I can relate.
So, I mean, long story short, I mean, I left, and now I left my profession, and I tell people like the reason why I left is because like if I didn't leave that job was gonna end me. And people can take that however they want to take it. Like basically, it was going to end me. End me is, you know, maybe an attempt. I don't know, but it was definitely going to end me. And I think people just didn't know how serious it was until I had a panic attack and had to go to the emergency room. And then, you know, they told me, listen,
Wow.
you have to take these pills. If I gotta take pills to do my job, I don't wanna.
Yeah.
Right.
Like that's not for me. So, that's why I pretty much knew like it's super serious. So.
Personally for me, especially from, we talking about being a black male, I feel I was lucky in a sense because my family is mostly just a lot of strong women in my family. And I was blessed that a lot of them are educated. So when I lost my father at a very young age, it was a lot of like trying to prove myself to other people. So with them being educators, I feel they had the tools to like really reel me in and bring me in. I was able to like be able to reach out to them more. Even if it wasn't just my mom, I had aunts and cousins and everybody who I could just touch and reach out to. So I feel I was lucky in that sense. Because I mean, it was a rough time just being able, a lot of pressure, feeling like a lot of pressure on you to be the man of the house at a young age, and just a lot of different things coming into you, just life, and there's a lot of going on with you not to have a father. There's somebody, then you hear just that standard, like you hear all these good things about your dad, so it's kind of like you didn't get to experience that. So it was like, it was tough, but having that background, just a lot of teachers in my family, just having people to lean on and reach to, that was big. I feel like that helped me out of a lot of problems or situations that I was in and could have been in. So that was big for me.
So one thing that you know, Caitlin, you really touched on, you said, you know, about the church and mental health. I know myself, like, I grew up in the church all my life. And I know that was one of the things, like, mental health is really, you know.
A taboo.
It's a taboo. They don't really talk about it.
You don't.
But I think that's probably one of the issues on why I struggle now in life. Like, I'm not really an active member in church anywhere, I would say. And I think one of the reasons is because I kind of like fight with, you know, overworking myself with the spiritual aspect of everything. And it's like everything just tied in, you know, you see.
You're talking my language.
Okay. Like everything just bottled in all at once. It's like, y'all, maybe I overwork myself and I just don't get it. But people is like, well, maybe you need to sit down and talk to somebody like like, you know, sometimes I just feel like they don't have all the answers. I know that may sound bad, but
It doesn't make it sound bad because they don't have all the answers. It's really, like when you think about spirituality, you have to think of it as a duality. It's your physical body and your spiritual body. They both work together.
right.
And myself, I used to be the chaplain of the choir at Coastal. Shout out to Channel. So, being the chaplain, one of the tools that I was given spiritually or divinely, I would say, is you can't always go in at people spiritually first. You got to work through the flesh sometimes.
Right.
You know, people aren't already ready. Like they're not ready for scripture and all of that first. You got to realize what the issue is. And that's another thing. People don't want to go to people. That's another reason why I think men have somewhat issues with vulnerability because they don't know who to go to or who they can trust. And then sometimes when you're so busy trying to explain things to people and all they can say is, well, you got to pray and they don't have an answer, you don't feel fulfilled. So you can't fulfill your physical or your spiritual body because you're just all over the place. So I definitely get what you're saying.
Yeah, because John Gray said that he was saying about the broken.
Yeah.
Like when he's broken, who do he go to? And I just feel like, you know, sometimes we can be the strongest people. Like sometimes we are the strongest people, but it's like, who do we go to?
Exactly.
And we don't really want to go to counselors or anything. But you know, in my profession, I realize there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. There's children that are being bullied,
Yeah.
and you know, I learned that a lot of kids is like the reason why they act out. I don't think kids are bad. I think they just act out because something is really happening. And I think that's the same way with adults. Like if a man cheats, I feel like it may be an underlining issue. Something is, women too. I'm not gonna do that. So, but I just feel like it's an underlining issue. Like everything is stemming back to your reality, like your mental health and everything else like that. So
Definitely.
Yeah, I think that it's definitely it's hard to figure out like exactly like where something's coming from.
Yeah.
To because like once you feel like anxiety like within yourself, like you feel it in your chest or your stomach or your arms, like you feel it in your body. It's physical. That's like your immediate like reality, like you were saying. So it's not. So you're not really thinking, oh, I'm getting anxious because this person in front of me is getting mad at me. And that's kind of how I felt when I told you like my roommates just texted me.
yeah.
And like I was admit like I know that it's like anxiety, but I knew I was getting angry, but it really wasn't anger. It was just like I don't want the situation to be happening in front of me, and so that's why I'm getting like angry about it. But it's really just I don't want the situation to I guess I'm just resisting it to a degree. But in I don't know. It just seems like no one's taught that at all, or even taught about where to look in the white community a lot. It's definitely like Jesus, and like that's totally fine. Yeah, I mean I don't think it's as much. It sounds way more like in the black community. They're like, oh, just pray it away. That's definitely not. I don't think that is. That isn't like an every answer in the white community, but in a lot of ways, especially with the older white generation, it's definitely people aren't depressed. You just need to pray to God, and or like with issues of being like, or not issues, but with a bunch of my like white friends who are gay, their families have been. Their families who are religious have just not accepted it because it's all about like God, and God will take care of it. But like there's nothing to take care of in that case. But I think it's just tradition,
Yes.
and how do we look at the tradition of like religion and of not looking to yourself for answers, or not trying to figure out it for yourself, and then trying to help other people. It's very like traditional. I think a lot of it is based in religion, and I think tradition itself is just like you just do it over again. It's just like a cycle. Like we want to keep it this way, and as long as you keep it that way, I mean, it's fine if you want to like keep tradition.
Yeah.
But we have to be willing to like look at the limits of tradition. I think religion is one place that has a lot of limits when it comes to mental health.
That part.
Yeah, but that's why we say relationship over religion.
That
Yeah.
part.
Well, can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, basically, you getting to know God, Jesus, your Savior, for yourself. Just having that relationship with Him, talking, praying. I mean, basically things like that. But we all know that. Listen, God gave us knowledge for a reason. He gave us knowledge to pursue licenses, to become these counselors and mental health professionals.
And to elaborate off of that, it's when you say relationship over religion, religion is kind of an organized textbook way, but relationship is something that that's when you do the work within yourself, and then you start to see, divine reality and outlook on things.
Because religion is, to me, is more so of a institution, basically.
Yeah. Once you get once there's an institution, things become institutionalized, and that's when the same patterns keep happening. And I think maybe it's like I like patterns. I like for things not to change sometimes. I mean, I think that's not necessarily a healthy thing, but I think it speaks to, you know, the idea of like groupthink, and maybe speaks to, you know, why religions seem sometimes so impermanent. Is because they don't want anything to change. They like it this way. This way makes them feel comfortable. And comfort has nothing to do with being able to like, you know, I mean, comfort's good, but you know, when you're stuck in the same place, like you're not attending to the needs of other people as well.
It doesn't bring change either.
No, and change is part of life. It changes life, you know.
So my thing is, what's really the issue with church and mental health? Because I never really got that. I see you, Caitlin.
Personally, I wouldn't say there's an issue with. I just think the way that we address it is somewhat of the problem. I think that we are doing better though.
Okay.
I think that, you know, the church is now talking about mental health. They're learning that you need to listen to things instead of just trying to cast demons out.
Right.
And all of that. And, you know, now is that necessary? You know, maybe. But I think the way that our approach to it is more logical, in tune with spirituality.
Mm.
So, yeah, education definitely makes a difference, because you need to know. And, you know, I'm big on like Ayanna Van Zandt,
Oh,
and
yeah.
she's not, I wouldn't necessarily say she is a Christian, but I love her so much because she has a gift kind of to where she can pinpoint where things happen. A lot of things that go on in our communities happen because of the way our parents were raised.
Right.
And subconsciously, they're putting it on us, and we're carrying those things, but now we're more aware of it in this millennial age.
Mm.
You know, so we know what to cut off. We know
Right.
what we don't need to repeat.
Yeah.
I think that we are changing into a more positive social culture as far as mentally.
Revolutionary.
Yeah,
Right.
we're definitely not where we need to be, but I think we are, you know, going into a better light as far as that.
I think that's a good segue into, I mean, if it's okay with you guys, like talking about like solutions. I mean, I think we're kind of on the cusp of it already.
I know recently you, I thought I seen you one time post on Facebook about CBD oil.
Oh yeah, CBD oil.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with it, you know. In no way am I promoting marijuana, herbal remedies, and none of that stuff. But like I would say it works for me, you know, because like you said earlier with the medication, like the first time I went to the psychiatrist, he was basically throwing medication at me.
Wow.
You know, so I'm like, I literally had to take this stuff every day, like these recommended amounts. He was like, yeah, you gotta take that every day for like pretty much the rest of your life. And I'm like, hold on, man, I'm not doing that.
No, thank
So I was basically researching stuff and like, you know, like basically remedies like you can do to like, you know, work on your depression, anxiety, whatever. You know, I heard jasmine flowers, like you know, put jasmine flowers in your house, you know, it'll like uplift your spirits and all that type of stuff. And like, I think with some other stuff, lavender, that's good. You know, if anybody, you know, is working on some stuff to like control their anxiety and depression or whatever. But yeah, I've been doing CBD for I want to say about 2 months now, and like it's working for me, honestly.
And
Like,
it is legal.
it's legal, yeah, it's legal, yeah. You know, well in certain places in South Carolina, not all of South Carolina is not on the CBD thing. So yeah, I heard Walgreens was about to do some CBD you know, like CBD creams or whatever like that, stuff like that. So yeah, it's coming on too. Hopefully the pharmaceutical industry doesn't you know, get their hand in it.
Well,
So both of you guys mentioned like not having like an aversion to like taking pills. Is that like a thing in the Black community, that there's like a general aversion to taking pharmaceutical like medicine?
Man,
I mean, I don't have any like, I have no qualms with that, but I guess I just want to hear what you guys have to say.
it's not
Usually
over.
both of you just happen to say it, so.
alcohol, maybe.
It's liquor stores, like black neighborhoods is liquor stores
I know,
everywhere.
I know the reason why I didn't want to take the pills, because I don't want to be too dependent on those things. Like,
Exactly.
you know, I don't want to live my life. It's
Yeah.
like, I really
In
have
in
to
the
take
white
this.
in the white community, people are definitely about. I mean, I don't. Once again, I don't think there's anything wrong with this. But a lot of my friends who are white who have like depression and stuff like that, they're all prescribed something. They take it pretty regularly.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess I still don't feel like I know if it's like a. I'm not sure if it's a yes or no question, but like, is it like in the black community like a this? You said liquor. You guys both said liquor store to people.
Yeah.
And so, what do you mean when you say that? I guess.
Like as far as liquor store.
Yeah. What do you mean liquor store? I mean,
Like-
I think I know what you're saying, but
But-
can you like go on?
Like, okay, black people, well, I can't really like speak for everybody, but
I'm
like,
thinking of that Kendrick Lamar song.
like
Swimming
a
pools.
lot of people, a lot of people like, you know, been through, well, black community, man, a lot of people been in hell and back, man. Like, so many people, like, everybody's story is different. Like, somebody had abuse in this home, or somebody, you know, grew up with parents who were on drugs and stuff like this. And like, really, black people, well, especially if you like coming from a area with like a lot of poverty, like, they don't have the proper resources to like get help or anything like that. So
That's like the counseling thing. That we,
exactly. So what do they turn to?
yeah.
Drugs. You know, liquor stores.
Yeah.
Hence why liquor
that's
stores
what I
are
was
like,
thinking of.
it's like 5, 6 different liquor stores in like different neighborhoods.
Yeah,
man.
when I think of when I did a lot of drugs in high school, and we did a lot of like Percocets and like Xanax and like opiates and stuff like that. Is that a big thing that circles through the black community?
Yeah, Percocet, Molly
Yeah.
Percocet. You know, so I mean,
I didn't know that.
Really?
Yeah, I did. I've just heard it, and I guess to me that is like those are rapper drugs. Like
Oh,
that's what I like. That's what I think.
They
And when I
doing that stuff.
Yeah.
I can tell you, when I was working, where I was working, like, I did see that a lot of white people, like, they
love their
main-
Percocets, dude.
yeah, it were mainly pills versus the black people, it was like marijuana.
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm more familiar. That's why I didn't know that the black community was really on pills. I knew that most of us would resort to smoking weed, but I didn't know about the
Maybe,
pills.
if you think about it, black people don't really go to the doctor like that.
Right.
So how we gonna get that medication?
They don't trust the doctor at that.
If we, it's easier to get marijuana down the
Right.
street versus going
Right.
to the doctor, which
Or
you
the
gotta pay a
liquor
doctor
stores
bill.
that are on
Right.
every hood corner.
Right, so you
Yeah.
gotta pay the doctor bill, and
Right.
Man,
which we don't have money for that either.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
that's why they turn to like drugs and alcohol, because like
Right.
that's basically their only medicine.
yeah, I was saying that's what I was thinking when I was thinking of that Kendrick Lamar song, like Swimming Pools. Like, I mean, it's a good song. I mean, like, I bumped to it, but then I'm like, oh my god, like, this is horrible.
Yeah.
No, but I didn't wanna take the pills because I don't wanna be dependent on it.
Mhm.
But,
Well, I guess just, I mean, like, I guess what I'm thinking is like the discrepancy there is that there's not, I'm not saying there's no forethought when, in the white community that I know, when people are just like, okay, I'll take these. There's not much of like, or at least for the people that I know, and once again, I don't think there's anything wrong with this, but, I think they are very privy to be like, I don't want to take this. I want to look into an alternative route. Why do you think that is? I mean, I don't think that we've established that there is a discrepancy quite yet. You guys have just both said that, pills.
Personally, I think like between just the different communities, that'd be like, I feel like we said, it's difficult for black people to go to get counseling.
Yeah, that's
It's
kind of
like a stigma, like that's like somebody saying you crazy or something. Like, don't nobody want to really deal with that kind of pressure. So a lot of people, they self-medicate.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's easy to just to go to the liquor store. You can just walk there and just
Yeah.
pick something up, and
God
they
damn.
leave that reality for that little bit of time, and you start to develop a habit.
I hadn't really thought about that liquor store thing until you guys said it. That's
Yeah. And I don't even know if you know this, but a lot of times when black people go to the doctors, we are not paid attention to as much as Caucasian people. So that comes in with our trust issues with them.
Right.
So we already don't want to go. So
Pretty much.
The,
Yeah, go ahead.
the liquor store thing is easy access.
Pretty
Just
much.
go in there and just pick up a bottle, like.
Yeah. Imagine if those were counselors instead of liquor stores.
Imagine,
Yeah.
so, but that goes on to what we need to do about it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Create more resources for, for people that are going through it.
You mentioned education.
Yoga.
Or you mentioned education earlier. I think having like more black teachers for sure.
Male teachers.
Yeah, more black male teachers for sure.
Speak on it.
And more black counselors as well. I think that would be very helpful. But I just don't. But I think that you guys are talking about like a trust issue with I guess not necessarily like the white community, maybe community at large. I don't know how would you? Because I mean, like with the doctors saying there's a lack of trust there. Counseling is taboo. I guess that's more of like a general thing.
No,
Yeah.
I don't think so personally.
Mm.
I think if black people had more black doctors to go to, we would go to the doctors. If we had more
Yeah.
black teachers, we open that. And every time I notice that there's a black person in a leadership role, more black people are more inclined to reach out to them. So I personally don't think it is general. I think it does have a lot to do with where we, where we are.
You know that there's people like out there like responding, and they're saying stuff like, "Oh, well, why don't black people just go to white doctors? Like, what's the big deal? How do you guys respond to that?" I don't feel that way, but I've definitely heard people say that shit.
Like, basically, like the same thing she said earlier. Like, basically, like, it's hard to trust them, man.
Yeah.
Like, black people basically overlooked.
Yes.
Especially like, I read stories about, women dying because, black women dying because doctors are overlooking symptoms, like they were thinking maybe the woman was exaggerating or whatever. Like they give her some medication, like just take these and you'll be all right, and then a day later she dies. Just like that Kim Porter thing. Like Kim Porter, when she died from pneumonia.
Porter, Serena Williams,
Yeah.
Beyonce when she was giving birth.
Like she almost
just
died giving birth.
celebrities. That's everyday life for us. Those were highlighted because they were celebrities, but that's really everyday life for us. So we really have to start getting more active in those, professions.
I think it boils down to you gravitate more towards if it's somebody that you look like and you feel they can connect with you on a human level. Like it's easy to say, well, these two people can just sit in a room and have a conversation. That's easy to say,
Right.
but it would be more. It's easier to just sit with somebody who they understand what you're talking about right out of the gate, and you just have that instant. Okay, I feel I can trust this person, to speak with this person. So
Yeah.
that kinda is gonna be a little bit of a barrier. It's like a language barrier, like
Yeah.
somebody who speaks two different languages.
Yeah.
Imagine having somebody who can barely speak your language. You trying to get directions from them.
I
That's
think
kind of how it would feel.
the idea of like trust coming up so much is just something that's been like really eye-opening for me just in this conversation. Like thinking about how black people trust or don't trust, I guess, once again, like doctors and people in maybe this kind of like positions where they're or the black community is undervalued. It's just
There's
something-
valid reasons.
and that's once again my own like institutionalized bias.
And
'Cause I just don't.
I will say, law enforcement
Oh yeah, that's no
is a
one
big
that-
scare for me because I know when
Yeah, I
we
get that.
were dating, like he would get pulled over on the way home, like 2 to 3 times a month.
Damn.
Yeah, and I was so scared. Like just think about it. Around that time, you got like
I remember that video,
Trayvon Martin,
Trayvon Martin and all that stuff. Jordan Davis.
Sandra Bland,
That's
all
why
that
they have.
happened.
That's why we have body cams now, like because that stuff is happening.
They still get away with it.
But you know what? I'm still frightened.
Yeah, 'cause
Whenever he leaves the house, it's like anxiety kicks in. Like, what's gonna happen?
Yeah, you don't know, like, what's gonna happen. Like, you get stopped by the police, me as a black man, we already get anxiety or whatever when we see the blue lights in the rear view mirror, and they walk up. Yeah, exactly. They walk up to the car, ask you for license, registration, and all this type of stuff, ask you personal questions, where you going and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you show that you're nervous in that case, they're gonna be like,
Like,
nervous. That's not fair at that point.
And that boils down to the solution. Is there really a solution for that?
Well,
don't-
I mean, like we were talking about earlier with like, getting
Not now.
like more like black educators and black counselors and stuff, but then we run into that issue of like trust and like how do we bridge that? Like it's not at some level it's not the black community's job to just start trusting.
For something like that,
Oh.
yeah, like for something like that, I think you can then, like for me personally, I know as soon as I get pulled over, I don't even think about what I've done wrong. I'm thinking I just need to do whatever they say,
Yeah.
so I can get
Gosh.
home. Like I just want to what can I do to make this happen as fast as possible,
And if you get
as nice as possible, even if I ain't did nothing wrong. Like if I know I did nothing wrong, if I know I'm getting pulled over, like, it was an instance. I was taking my little sister to basketball practice, and it was like a summer. They pulled us over, and like, instead of talking to me, he went to my little sister's side of the car and was like, he was like, where you guys going? So she said, my brother's taking me to practice. He came over to my side and was like, is that your sister? I'm like, we literally sitting here asking questions. Like, he was asking questions, just random stuff. And then it just immediately, her not understanding the situation, she's thinking, well, we ain't did nothing wrong. I'm looking at her like, look,
Right, comply.
yeah, like just do what he say do so we can get out of here and go
Alive.
home.
Right.
And that just I think it boils down to like you gotta retrain like people's minds. Like a lot of people when they come in, if you see, and I was never a little guy, so when you see me like in a car and I get out, most of them are looking at me like, okay, well, so you gotta retrain people's mind to just not be threatened.
Yeah.
But I understand it's a difficult job, like you wanna go home too. I wanna go home too, so just retrain their minds to how a traffic stop is supposed to be. Don't come automatically with the aggression out of the gate for no reason.
Yeah, 'cause that makes us nervous too.
Yeah, like, I'm gonna-
you don't know how people gonna react when you do that.
Yeah, some people just have anxiety. Like,
Exactly. So
That triggers a lot of it.
So if it's a black police officer,
To be honest with you, personally, whether the person is black or white, I don't want to say I automatically feel like they feel a certain kind of way, but I automatically think no matter what happens in the situation, he gonna be right. Like even if he pulled me over for no reason,
Right.
I have to basically feel guilty just so I gotta admit guilt in some kind of way
yeah.
Wow.
to get out of the situation. You know what I mean? Like
Gosh.
it was times I get like she could tell you like we used to work at a job where I have to go home to Lake City. It's probably like I'm getting off at 10, so I'm getting home almost 11. So imagine you can pull over at 11 o'clock at night. There's no lights on the road. He's pulling you over. Like your first inclination is like, yo, there's nobody within miles around. I'm on a country road.
Yeah.
What can I do to make sure nothing happens? So I gotta automatically be guilty,
Yeah.
just for him to be like, okay, he did it. Like I gotta be guilty,
Yeah.
So it's hard to do that, but at the end of the day, like that's how I'm gonna get home.
Well, what do police officers say when they pull you over? They just say speeding.
I've been told like I know. No, it just be a random. He'll pull me over, and this happened at least
Really?
4 to 5, at least 4 times.
It happens
4 to 5 times. I'll get pulled over. I've been told to get out of the car. They've searched my car one time. They're like, he asked to do it, but what I'm gonna say, like, if nobody's here,
I figured I'd ask that question too, because I know that's like people are trying to like argue, would ask like, oh well, were you speeding or something like that? But
he literally. At the end of that day, I don't think I've ever gotten a ticket.
No,
I've never gotten a ticket.
Really?
I've never gotten
And
a
you've been
ticket.
pulled over 4 or 5 times.
4 or 5 times,
Jesus.
never got a ticket, and it was an average like every 6 months.
I've
And I
never,
used to laugh about it.
I have never
Every
gotten
6 months,
pulled
I'm
over.
guaranteed to get pulled over.
I've never gotten pulled over.
Really.
Never. I've never gotten pulled over. Not once.
wow,
Man, listen.
it's a different world, man.
But so recently we know that a lot of children have been committing suicide as well. Any thoughts about that? Like about
Talk to your kids. That's
Yes.
the main thing. Talk to your kids, man. Like, because children are not really gonna be open with you, explaining everything what's going on, school or whatever, they can tell you, you know, hey, you know, I did this or whatever in school, you know, I got student of the month and all this stuff. They tell you good stuff, but they don't tell you about the bullying and all that going on. But when a child does address the bullying to a parent, and the parent brings it to, you know, the administration or the principal or school board or whoever, most of that stuff gets swept under the rug, man. Like, I personally know people who are teachers, man. Like, they tell me all the time, man, they do nothing about it. Absolutely nothing. Like, they had a bullying policy. They started that bullying policy when I was in high school. I forget what grade they started at. I think it was like 9th, 10th grade or something like that. But basically, that whole thing was a joke, man. They didn't take that thing serious at all, man. Like, when a student came up to the teacher saying they were being bullied or whatever, or somebody was threatening them, they were like, oh, don't worry about it. It'll be all right. Just finish your work or whatever.
Wow.
Now, here we are. I graduated 2010. What's it, 2019? 9 years later. Kids, you know, I seen a 10-year-old, I read about a 10-year-old committed suicide. I was like, what kind of thought?
Yeah.
A baby.
A baby committing suicide? Like, what?
But the times have changed too, where as like when especially I know when I was in school, I'm not that much older, 2 years older, but still like with social media coming into play,
Oh, yeah.
like that whole like imagine when we was in school and social like something happened to you,
Oh, yeah.
it'd go
They
away
all
within,
on social
yeah,
media.
like it would have went away in like a week.
Mhm.
You might have picked at you for a week and it's gone.
Yeah.
But now on social media, they might have a picture it's gonna be a meme now. Like whenever something happened, that picture's up
Yeah,
again.
viral. Everybody.
So it's
see it.
like that's gonna be hard to deal with at a kid age. Like it's easy to tell them to stay off, but life revolves around phones and electronics now.
So how do we find solution for these kids? Because this is our future, you know, this is our future, our generation to come, and we supposed to be leaders for them. So how do we push them towards going to seek help for their mental?
Well, like what he said, talking to the kids is definitely important. I know when I was younger, my dad, you know, the first resort was like, usually, girl, I'm gonna cut your tail,
Yeah.
you know? But as I got older, he would say, okay, well, this is why this is how it is, and this is the mindset that you need to have towards things. And then we have people like Isaac Wilson who are doing things. Well, he has a book out, I believe, a few books possibly, and you know, a website. He's going to talk to kids and encouraging, you know, speaking about it. So the more that we allow our kids to speak to us instead of telling them how to think and what to think and why they should, you know, create those safe spaces for them, I believe, is definitely important.
I think it also, you know, like starts with us too. Like, do we have like the capacity to, you know, build like our own, you know, inner, or be able to, you know, work with ourselves and kind of try and like work on our own stability. And if we're not able to do that, it's going to be hard to like help other people too. And if we don't have that, then you know, I think it could be cyclical, or could continue to be cyclical. You know, it's just like we could create those spaces, but you know, what room do we have for it to, you know, actually maintain if, you know, what created the spaces aren't really stable in the first place, I guess.
Right.
That part.
I think it kind of is that it takes a village to raise a child kind of mindset too.
Yeah.
Like with me, like I said, I was real lucky. Like I had aunts that were, like, even though my mama was like the disciplinarian, like she would come down.
Absolutely.
I would have my aunts, my aunt Missy, shout out to you, but she would be able to like, she would be able to tell me why, like, you know, this is why this happened. This is
Right.
this. So she would be able to break it down to me in terms. So I'm like, all right, I get it. Like I know I messed up, you know. So she would be able to help me through those things. So granted, everybody can't talk to their mom and dad about situations. Like with my nephew, me and her, we on his neck right now, but it's because we understand certain things he may not be able to talk to his parents about. Maybe I can be able to reach out to him, because I already know that what can happen, the good and bad from that. So it's just about, I guess you're gonna have to take that whole approach to not just one person focusing in, like it takes that whole spectrum of people to be able to give this person options and different, 'cause you may be able to help that person in speaking to somebody about mental health. They may not be able to have that like with somebody else, so they might be reaching, looking for that, and their parents tell them one thing, but here you go right here being able to get them that type of olive branch to say, hey, and bring them into that fold. So it takes that village to raise a child kind of thing out there.
Right.
Mentoring too, like
Yeah.
like definitely, we gotta start mentoring these kids, man, because like, they're the next ones coming up, you know, we gotta take care of them and watch out for them, you know, because a lot of them, man, they going through a lot.
Yes.
I talked to a few of them, man, they going through a lot, so, yeah, we gotta do our duty, you know, to make sure we look out for them and make sure we're doing the right thing.
Yeah, mentoring programs in schools and churches.
Yep, mentor in the school, like, you can basically just go there, go to the school saying, hey, you know, can I visit a classroom, you know, they'll let you visit one, you know, talk to the kids or whatever, you know.
I would say allowing children to be themselves. I know recently, Dwayne Wade, child, you know, they're supporting, his kid, you know, they went to Pride.
Yeah.
And was it Atlanta? Was it Atlanta? You know, many people may have issues about that, but I think that is such a beautiful thing because, you know, he loves his child.
Mhm.
If his child is deciding to do that, support. You know, I think children just need support at the end of the day.
And guidance.
Right. It's space to allow them to be themselves. You know, who knows, his mind may change later on. But as long as his dad is loving him through that, then, you know, I think everything is good, right?
Yeah.
So, it's basically it for that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.